Again, this is Brother Teacher. Have an interesting answer to an interesting question, and a very common question, believe it or not. And the question is simply, how often should you have a bowel movement? Well, ladies and gentlemen, uh, do you eat every day? That's the question. If you eat every day or intake food, ingestion, then you should have a bowel movement every day. For example, if you eat 3 times a day, on average, you should have 3 bowel movements per day. But there is a catch 22 with that. It depends upon the individual. It varies from person to person. But let me say this at least. You need to have at least 1 bowel movement per day. At least one. Now, getting back to what I was going to say prior to that is this, how it varies from person to person. Oftentimes, if you're under doctor's instructions and you're taking prescription medication, many prescription medications cause constipation, hence lack of having bowel movements on a regular basis. And also, when you are not exercising on a regular basis, you could be constipated and then you won't have a bowel movement on a regular basis. And primarily, the reason most people don't have bowel movements on a regular basis, even when they're eating every single day, is because of the improper food choices. Understand this again, my friends. Most of the foods that we consume are laden with chemicals and additives and artificial sweeteners, conditioners, antibiotics, that is, and also hormones and a lot of things that don't belong in the human body. And this causes an imbalance in the biological mechanism called the human body. In other words, when you put things in your body that's not real food, when you don't have the proper fiber, when you don't intake enough fluids and or water, then you're going to be bound to have constipation. And when you have constipation, it's okay if it's a subtle constipation and you still have a bowel movement every day. But if you have chronic constipation, that means when you haven't had a bowel movement in several days or even a week, something is definitely wrong, ladies and gentlemen. It is not normal for you to not have a bowel movement for 3 or 4 days and you have been eating every day. So where's that food at, you might ask? It's in your colon. That's why people have colon issues. That's why people have gastrointestinal issues. That's why people have a whole lot of different issues, because improper food choices and intake to boot. And then you have waste backed up in your colon. And that can wreak a lot of havoc down the road in the form of diseases and cancer and allergies and other illnesses. So please bear in mind, this is what you should do. You want to make sure that if you absolutely do not have to take prescription medication, don't do it. Over the counter medications such as Tylenol or acetaminophen, aspirin, and heartburn medicine, Tums, Rolaids, the whole 9 yards. Whatever that you can typically buy over the counter, if you really don't need it, don't take it. That's number one. Number two, which it should really be number one, but number two, in the order in which I'm giving it to you. Number two is make sure that you eat as much raw foods and vegetables as possible. Raw. Now, raw does not mean it's dying or it's waste or that it's rotten. That's not what raw means. Raw means in its natural state. Okay, so when you pull an apple or an orange off of a tree, that's actually raw. When you cook it, you change the composition of it. Okay, same thing is true with vegetables. When you pull some celery up or a carrot up out of the ground, it's raw. It's still edible. You can eat it just like that. And For the most part, try to steam your vegetables as often as you can and do not cook them, because when you cook them or boil them or bake them for long periods of time, you kill the nutrition. All of the things that are naturally good for your body, you kill it off through the heat process. So steaming, I would suggest first. And you want to have that fiber. Take in some bananas, take in some cabbage, those things that keep your system regular and keep you moving so you can go to the bathroom. Drink plenty of water, no more than a gallon of water in a day, okay? 2 to 4 liters of water a day. If you are having a urination, or if you're peeing, in other words, every single day, then you should be having a bowel movement every single day as well. So again, depending on if you're under doctor's care and you're taking medication, and I'm not discouraging anyone not to take those medications, but if you don't need them, discuss it with your doctor and make sure that you can try to wean yourself from medications that you really do not need. And again, with the over-the-counter medications or pills or what have you, make sure that you limit or exclude those completely out of your regimen, and make sure that you eat as much fruit, fresh, vegetables, fresh as possible. Limit your meat as much as you possibly can, especially beef, okay? And limit, if you cannot totally eliminate, milk or dairy from your body, because dairy is notorious for constipation, okay? So understand that as well. Now, to conclude again, every human being, if you're eating 3 to 4 times a day, then that's approximately how many times you should be going to the bathroom doing number 2. But at the very least, you should go once or twice a day, because you cannot have food sitting in your body for days and days and days, because it's only going to end up with a bad result. Okay? Babies have bowel movements every single day. All babies do. 2 or 3 bowel movements a day. Animals, cats, dogs have bowel movements every single day. Why are you not having those bowel movements? The other reason, again, to attaching to what I've already said, and I mentioned this earlier, is exercise. Stop being so sedentary. Stop propping your feet up, sitting down all of the time, driving your car all of the time, riding the bus all of the time, in your lounge chair all of the time. Get up and start moving. Okay? That would help your metabolism. That would help also push everything that's on the inside that you put in on the outside. This is Brother Teacher. If you have any questions or any comments, please leave them in the comment section below. And as always, Yahweh love you. And I love you.